Good evening and welcome to Cronkite Cut. I'm Quentin Walker.
And I'm Faith Abercrombie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Retired rapper Nicki Minaj is already talking about her comeback to music, and it could involve a collaboration with Adele. In a recent interview with Entertainment Tonight, Minaj confirmed the upcoming project collaboration, stating, "Yes and yes, but Adele made me swear to secrecy that I'm not allowed to tell anyone that I'm working with her, and that we already shot a video, and it's an epic song." Well, it didn't take long for the fun to end. On Wednesday, Minaj tweeted that her statement about Adele was just her being sarcastic. The tweet says, quote, "I thought everyone could clearly see I was being sarcastic. Now I have to go to Adele's studio and steal some files. Who's in the UK? I've got a job for you." Earlier this year, Nicki Minaj announced that she would be retiring to start a family, but since then she has continued to produce more music. Her next song to be released will be a part of the Charlie's Angels soundtrack, which is being produced by Ariana Grande. Do you think a Nicki Minaj and Adele song is even possible? Can they both live in the same world?
I think this will be a great song. I can't wait to watch the music video. If she said they already shot it, that's amazing. Like, something is going good in the works right now.
Well, as of now, it isn't happening, but maybe in the future something could come together. Hopefully,
well, hopefully, crossing my fingers. That I will play that song in my car. Well, Pretty Little Liars star Shay Mitchell recently had a big announcement in regards to her pregnancy. The star shared the news on Instagram this weekend. Here's reporter Anna Stansfield in the studio with more details.
Our favorite Pretty Little Liars star went through some tough times this past Sunday, and that's an understatement. 32-year-old actress Shay Mitchell announced on Instagram that she gave birth to her baby on October 20th. She and her boyfriend Matt Babel couldn't have been happier. Throughout her pregnancy, Shay has been doing her best to document every part of it, including the birth itself. She posted an 11-minute birth video on Monday that encapsulated the whole harrowing experience. Shay was in labor for a total of 33 hours. As the labor went on, she became increasingly exhausted and worried. However, after a long-awaited period, the baby was finally born. Moments after the baby was born, Shay said, quote, "I was 99% excited to meet her and 1% excited to eat something. And honestly, I can't blame her. Hopefully raising her new baby won't be as challenging as the actual birth." In the studio, I'm Anna Stansfield, Cronkite Cut.
What on earth do you get someone who nearly has everything? Well, husband Kanye West surprised Kim Kardashian West with a $1 million donation to prison reform charities. Kardashian West tweeted out this picture showing the certificate that says the donation is for the behalf of her and her kids. If you didn't already know, Kim is studying to become a lawyer, participating in a 4-year apprenticeship. She is hoping to begin her practice in 2022. Kardashian West's passion for criminal reform was shown when she helped get Alice Johnson out of prison back in June of 2018. Johnson was serving a life sentence for a first-time drug offense and zero possibility for parole. Johnson is now enjoying life not behind bars and with her family. Through the help of West's donation of Kim's behalf, hopefully this will affect the lives of many more. I just think that I love seeing famous people putting their money towards good use and to help people, that it will truly benefit and affect their lives in the long run. So it's really cool to see that this is what he did for her birthday present.
And they have so much money. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, "Oh, here's, $1 million donation, also $1 million diamond ring." Like, how many other special gifts did they get?
She did mention, she was like, "I got the coolest bags, but this was my favorite present."
Oh,
so I'm glad that
sweet.
she had a little something else besides the purses.
Mm-hmm.
This week is your last chance to celebrate the spooky season. If you want that final taste of Halloween spirit, then visit the Scaregrounds in Mesa, Arizona. Cut Network reporter Carolina Hassett has the park and everything you need to know.
When the calendar hits October 1st, the people of Arizona have been looking forward to the spooky season.
I'm coming to get you!
But the people at Scarezona's Scaregrounds have been looking forward to this moment for quite some time. Underneath all the costumes and makeup, there are individuals who simply want to express themselves in quite the interesting way.
So what's your blood type?
When approaching the Scaregrounds, there are 4 words to keep in mind. Enter, if you dare.
You know, scaring people is a unique business. It's a lot of fun, obviously. Everybody loves to be scared. We've got over 50 different signature characters out here. Obviously, clowns is a favorite for a lot of people. I should say not a favorite for a lot of people. We've got our doll room with some dolls. We've got zombies roaming the halls. We've got the crazy doctors.
I just love haunted houses because I like the thrill of it, and I love scary things like scary movies and stuff like that. So I really wanted to come here for just the experience.
Here at Scarezonia, they are ready for the spooky season. There are several things you can do here, several haunted houses, zombie paintball, and even a chainsaw gauntlet, if that sounds like something you'd be into. So now in the spooky season, coming out to Scarezonia Scaregrounds. For the Cut Network, I'm Carolina Hassett reporting.
Sounds like a scary good time to me. If you crave a fright, you might be the perfect guest to attend this hair-raising attraction. You know, I want to attend it, but I think I need to be one of the scare actors in there because some of those people look just like me when I wake up in the morning. It's so cute.
Oh my gosh, honestly relatable. Well, should we go on a date to Scarezonia?
I mean, if you're okay with dating one of those monsters, because that's me.
Ew, okay. No, you don't look like those monsters. When they were popping up, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of scared.
I mean, you have not seen me in the morning, but...
Yeah, well, I'm sure you don't look that bad.
Oh, thank you, Faith. Well, it looks like Star Wars fans have a lot to look forward to this December. A trailer for the newest Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker, has finally been released to the public. Cronkite Cut reporter Drake Presto has the latest.
The final trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, was finally released yesterday, hinting at an exciting conclusion to the trilogy to end all trilogies. For discerning Star Wars fans, the trailer also reveals details, Easter eggs, and more clues to what's to come with the film arriving in theaters. We were able to see Lando Calrissian and Chewbacca reunited at last, the death of robot favorite C-3PO, who shares that he's taking one last look at his friends, and one of the most revealing shots of the trailer where Imperial Star Destroyers emerge from the ice. The most speculated scene revealed in the trailer is a moment when Rey confronts the Emperor, alone. Take a look for yourself. Make sure to catch Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker in theaters December 20th. In the studio, Drake Presto, Cronkite Cut.
Netflix is mixing it up for Queen Elizabeth and the royal family in Season 3 of The Crown. The new season and its cast will follow Britain's royal family through the 60s and 70s. A new full-length trailer just dropped featuring a young Prince Charles as he falls in love with Camilla Parker Bowles. It also includes several scenes from the Queen's Silver Jubilee celebration, marking her 25th anniversary on the throne. Additionally, viewers will see a sibling rivalry between the Queen and her sister, played by Olivia Colman and Helena Bonham Carter. Season 4 will include the introduction of Princess Diana, The Crown. Season 3 will be available on Netflix on November 17th.
Kanye West is releasing a new album this week. The rapper tweeted Monday morning stating his Jesus is King album will be available Friday. It was originally expected to be released last month. Last week, West released a trailer for his upcoming IMAX film that also debuts Friday with the same name as his album. It doesn't give much away, but it's clear that the project will reflect the rapper's spirituality. He has also been hosting hip-hop gospel Sunday service pop-up events at locations around the world for some time now.
A new single has been released by well-known artist Frank Ocean. Could this surprise drop mean a new album may be coming soon? Well, here's reporter Caroline Lynch with more information.
After nearly 2 years of being MIA in the studio, Frank Ocean released a new single this past Saturday called DHL. Frank premiered the single completely out of the blue during the latest episode of his podcast, Blonded Radio. This was his first debut on the podcast since the last aired episode in December of 2018, making the song a special surprise for fans. Now, the real question is, does this mean a new album is on the way? Thankfully, the answer is yes. Frank announced this month that his album is in the works. But like any of his projects, Frank will definitely keep us on the edge of our seats until he finally releases it to the public. In the studio, I'm Caroline Lynch, Cronkite Cut.
Jennifer Lawrence is a married woman. Oh, I'm heartbroken. After luxurious trips and destinations such as Paris and Rome, the 28-year-old Oscar-winning actress finally tied the knot to 34-year-old Manhattan art dealer Cook Maroney. The ceremony happened this past Saturday at a massive mansion in Newport, Rhode Island.
A Nickelodeon theme park is opening in New Jersey on October 25th. At 8.5 acres, Nickelodeon Universe will be the largest indoor theme park in North America. It's located at the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford. It features more than 35 rides, roller coasters, and attractions. Among the coasters, the Shell Raiser, featuring a 122-foot drop. Kids can meet Nickelodeon characters such as SpongeBob, Dora the Explorer, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And there will be plenty of entertainment on the slime stage. A general ticket costs $39.99 and an all-access ticket is $49.99. Children under 2 years old will get in for free.
Home Alone star Macaulay Culkin got out of the house and had a great time at this week's Lizzo concert. Not only did the star dance with Lizzo, but it appears that the two became good friends as well. Here's reporter Megan Newsham with the latest.
Although Macaulay Culkin has been left alone countless times, this week was not one of them. At one of Lizzo's recent musical performances, she invited Culkin to join her on stage to dance with her during her song, Like a Girl, where she name drops Culkin when she sings, "I Don't Need You, I'm Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone." Culkin dove into the spotlight with the infamous sprinkler dance move, which Lizzo and her backup dancer followed close behind. Following the show, Culkin took to Instagram and posted, "When Lizzo asks you to do a silly dance, you get up there and do a silly dance," along with clips of their performance. The two appear to be real-life friends when they hug before he dances off the stage. In the studio, Megan Newsham, Cronkite Cut.
The two have decided to tie the knot after being together for 1 year. When asked if there could be a ceremony to celebrate, Nicki explained that as a little girl, she had always wanted a big fairy tale wedding, but now she was unsure if she wanted to do anything at all.
It will definitely be interesting to see how these two handle the spotlight in the upcoming weeks, especially in regards to the big question remaining, will there be a ceremony? I would attend if I was invited. Are you invited? Did you get an invite?
I mean, I wish I was. I would love to attend a fairy tale wedding.
Because I did not get an invite to Nicki Minaj's wedding. I was expecting one, but I haven't gotten one yet.
I don't think we would be the first on the list, so.
Right. Well, maybe after this episode, we'll send her a PM and we'll get on the list.
Yeah, hopefully.
There we go.
Hopefully.
Well, that's it for this episode of Cronkite Cut.
And for a behind-the-scenes look at our content, follow us on social media at Cronkite, at @thecut_network.
Stick around for an all-new Sports Cut up next.
My name is Mark Lodato, and I'm the Associate Dean at the Cronkite School.
I'm Kristen Gilger, Senior Associate Dean at the Walter Cronkite School.
Hi, I'm Chris Callahan. I'm the Dean and a Professor at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University, and I'm delighted today to be talking about the Cut Network.
What's most exciting to me right now is that students and future journalists have the opportunity to take their career in so many different directions. When I was coming up through the journalism ranks, it was pretty much television, radio, or newspapers. But look at what you can do with these skills today. You've got traditional media outlets, but you also have all sorts of new platforms in ways in which you can be a good storyteller. And then you've also got those core skills of critical thinking, strong communication, and writing, and you can literally take that anywhere. So I like to remind students that while a media job may be the first step in their career, that career can go down all sorts of different paths over the course of time, and you can end up in a really exciting and challenging place.
My favorite part about the journalism industry, pretty much everything. We just talked about this in Journalism 110 this morning, and there's so many different reasons to be excited about being a journalist, that you're providing a public service, that you're connected to your community, that you get to explore issues that you're interested in, you get to inform your community in very, very powerful ways, but also it's highly creative, and there's a significant fun factor involved, that you get the job at its essence is going out and talking to interesting people about interesting things, and then producing content around that, and that is it is unbelievably rewarding.
You're going to doubt yourself sometimes. You're going to doubt whether this is even the right choice for you sometimes, and that's fine. because doubting can make you think more deeply about things, ask more questions, listen more closely. But in the end, you should follow your passion. You should follow the thing that makes you happy and excited and engaged and interested. And if journalism does that, if public relations does that, if sports reporting does that, if creating new forms of media does that, then that's what you should do.
Rookie standout Zion Williamson will be out 6 to 8 weeks after undergoing surgery on his knee this Monday. Pelicans coach Alvin Gentry says that Williamson most likely hurt his knee in early October, but he should be back in late December. According to ESPN, Williamson is only the 4th #1 overall pick to miss his first season opener, as he missed the Pelicans season opener versus the Raptors last night. With Williamson being out, the team lost the tough game by 8 points. Even with their star rookie on the bench, Pelicans coach says they should still be winning these types of games as a team. As the season is starting up, players and fans are excited to see Williamson back on the court. For Sports Cut, I'm Julia Sandor.
Youth football players and coaches in New York State came together to do something very special for a boy with cerebral palsy.
11-year-old Jaycen Weiss spent years on the sidelines as an honorary member of Suffolk's PAL Football League, but on this special day, he finally got a chance to take the field, as Jennifer McLogan reports.
Something wonderful happened on the football field to 11-year-old Jaycen Weiss.
I saw Jax put a helmet on, and I heard the quarterback go down, said Hut.
This wasn't really planned ahead of time, and it definitely brought a tear to my eye.
Overwhelm, complete overwhelm. Tanya and James Weiss's son was born with cerebral palsy and a born football fan.
Come on, Jax!
Bayshore's PAL League opened its arms to Jaycen and its playbook in a game against rival Lindenhurst.
I went up to the coach from Lindenhurst and explained what we wanted to do. And I mean, it was how do you want to do it, and great. And he had a play set for his kids.
And we were just running down the field, and all the other kids on the other team started diving out of his way and trying to make tackles.
The players really helped to make it Jackson's special day. And I saw Jax just have a big smile. I heard the crowd going crazy behind me.
Pins and needles for Jaycen's parents.
You just want for them, and it's a little scary. Will they have friends? Will people make fun of them?
Several years ago, Jaycen's sister, Emma, started a Say No to the R Word campaign. The Bayshore community signed on. No more using the term retarded. Instead, embrace differences. Not a dry eye on the field. Parents and players from both sides calling it the play of the year. No one even remembered the final score.
The future is very bright when we look at the generation coming up and what they're doing for each kid that has extra needs.
On the arms and backs of his football brothers, Jaycen Weiss was pushed across the goal line, bringing a community much more than a touchdown.
Game 1 of the World Series kicked off last night as the Houston Astros hosted the Washington Nationals at Minute Maid Park. Harry Croton has the latest.
Thank you, Simon. Game 1 featured a dynamite pitching matchup between 3-time Cy Young winner Max Scherzer and this year's Major League leader in strikeouts, Garrett Cole, who hadn't lost a start since May 26th. The Astros started the scoring in the first courtesy of a 2-run double by Cuban first baseman Yuli Gurriel, but Washington tied it with solo home runs in the second and fourth innings, including a moonshot to the left center field train tracks by 20-year-old superstar Juan Soto. Soto would then drive in 2 additional runs as part of a 3-run fifth inning to give the Nats the lead 5-2. Houston nearly clawed back when leadoff man George Springer plated runs in the 7th and 8th, but closer Sean Doolittle pitched a 4-out save to seal it 5-4 for Washington. The Nationals now lead the Fall Classic 1-0, and Game 2 will take place Wednesday with another exciting pitchers duel featuring Justin Verlander and Steven Strasburg. The best-of-7 series will then shift to D.C. on Friday, with Games 4 and 5 taking place Saturday and Sunday. Harry Croton, Sports Cut.
MVP and Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes suffered a dislocated kneecap in Thursday's night win against the Broncos. Mahomes was attempting a quarterback sneak in the first half of the game when the injury occurred. Luckily for the Chiefs, surgery has not been discussed, and Mahomes was able to avoid serious injury by not moving at all before trainers were able to get there on the field and pop the kneecap back into place. Mahomes walked off the field himself. His MRI on Friday revealed no significant additional damage. He was expected to miss 3 to 5 weeks, but was at practice today for the Chiefs.
That's huge news for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs specifically. They got a tough test next week when they bring in the 6-1 Green Bay Packers. They're 2-0 this year on the road. Rodgers threw for 5 touchdowns last game, so it's going to be a high-powered offense and a solid defensive front for the Packers. Big news for the Chiefs.
Definitely, and I mean, with Patrick Mahomes out and our backup quarterback in, it'll be interesting. But I think that in the end, we saw a little bit of the Chiefs defense come out last week. They played well, so hopefully they can continue that until Mahomes is for sure back.
Absolutely. This past Tuesday, Pro Football Hall of Famer Willie Brown passed away at the age of 78. Sports Cut reporter Madison Thomas has the update. In Minnesota, hundreds of family members and friends said their final goodbyes to Jaycen Feister, a teenager who collapsed during a football game. His funeral was held in Cloquet on Sunday, one day after what would have been his 16th birthday. Pfister died just over a week ago after collapsing during a high school football game. His family says he had a heart condition, but had been cleared to play sports.
Mark Parker is stepping down as CEO of Nike next year. Parker has been at the clothing giant for 40 years, serving the last 13 as chief executive. Although Nike has enjoyed great success during his tenure, there have been scandals. In the last 2 years, there was an executive overhaul and multiple lawsuits over alleged gender discrimination. More recently, the company shut down its running club after longtime coach Alberto Salazar was banned from the sport for anti-doping violations. Parker has denied those issues had anything to do with him, leaving the top executive position. The new CEO will be John Donahoe, a current Nike board member. Ironically, the announcement comes the same day that rival Under Armour's CEO Kevin Plank also announced his departure. The moment all MLB fans have been waiting for is finally here. The 2019 World Series is underway. But before we get to that, let's hear about how the Astros beat the Yankees to make it to the World Series. Connor Eaton has the latest.
There's nothing quite like playoff baseball. That was made evident this Saturday as former AL MVP Jose Altuve sent the Houston Astros to the World Series in dramatic fashion. In the bottom of the ninth, Yankees pitcher Aroldis Chapman hung a slider on a 2-1 count, and Altuve took advantage, firing a strike to center field while the crowd exploded. According to Astros pitcher Gerrit Cole, Altuve was calmly studying Chapman before his at-bat like it was a regular season game and not one of the biggest moments of this season. Baseball fans now await Game 2 of a highly anticipated World Series between the Astros and the Washington Nationals. I'm Connor Eaton, Sports Cut.
The defending champion Toronto Raptors had opened up the NBA season last night at home against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Before the game, the Raptors got their championship rings and unveiled the championship banner.
Going into overtime, both teams were tied neck and neck, and it was that way the whole game. So let's take a look at our highlights of the week. First, with 3 minutes, 22 seconds left, Pascal Siakam drives in the lane. Nice contested lay, puts it in. Big man just signed a 4-year, $150 max extension. Let's go to 1:23 left in the game. Lowry drives the baseline. The kid from North Philly kicks it out to Marcus Gasol, who knocks down a 3. Excellent look. Here comes Lowry again to Gasol, and the elbow extended. Back to Van Vliet. Knocks it down. Van Vliet's trying to go 2 for 2. He says run it back as he's getting the Air Canada Center all riled up in Toronto.
And what a night for them, right? And I mean, with the rings, and then did you see the clip? One of the fans actually got Commissioner Adam Silver to present him with the fake ring.
Yeah, I'm mad jealous of that. Did you see all the ice that was on that?
Ice.
Yeah, it was a nice looking ring, that's for sure. Celebrate the city's first championship
Definitely.
in basketball.
And with championships, who are you looking at for NBA Finals this year?
So it's going to be really interesting this year with a lot of the movement in the league. I really think the Clippers are going to be the hardest team to beat. We saw last night how sharp they looked against the Lakers without Paul George, albeit, and with Kawhi Leonard's defensive ability and way he can guard 1 through 5 positions, it's going to be hard for me to see any team realistically top them. Out of the Eastern Conference, I think it's either going to come down to the Sixers or Bucks. Those are the teams who are built around their stars, whether that be Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid on the Sixers side, or Chris Middleton and reigning MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Definitely. It will be an interesting season, no doubt. I am excited.
Yeah, for sure. So that's it for this edition of The Sports Cut.
For a behind-the-scenes look at our content, follow us on our social medias at @thecut_network.
Stay tuned for an all-new Cut for News coming up.
My name is Mark Lodato, and I'm the Associate Dean at the Cronkite School.
I'm Kristen Gilger, Senior Associate Dean at the Walter Cronkite School.
Hi, I'm Chris Callahan. I'm the Dean and a Professor at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University, and I'm delighted today to be talking about the CUT Network.
What's most exciting to me right now is that students and future journalists have the opportunity to take their career in so many different directions. When I was coming up through the journalism ranks, it was pretty much television, radio, or newspapers. But look at what you can do with these skills today. You've got traditional media outlets, but you also have all sorts of new platforms in ways in which you can be a good storyteller. And then you've also got those core skills of critical thinking, strong communication, and writing, and you can literally take that anywhere. So I like to remind students that while a media job may be the first step in their career, that career can go down all sorts of different paths over the course of time, and you can end up in a really exciting and challenging place.
My favorite part about the journalism industry, pretty much everything. We just talked about this in Journalism 110 this morning, and there's so many different reasons to be excited about being a journalist, that you're providing a public service, that you're connected to your community, that you get to explore issues that you're interested in, you get to inform your community in very, very powerful ways, but also it's highly creative, and there's a significant fun factor involved, that you get the job at its essence is going out and talking to interesting people about interesting things, and then producing content around that, and that is it is unbelievably rewarding.
You're going to doubt yourself sometimes. You're going to doubt whether this is even the right choice for you sometimes, and that's fine, because doubting can make you think more deeply about things, ask more questions, listen more closely, but in the end, you should follow your passion. You should follow the thing that makes you happy and excited and engaged and interested in it. Journalism does that, if public relations does that, if sports reporting does that, if creating new forms of media does that, then that's what you should do.
Good evening and welcome to Cut for News. I'm Carolina Hassett.
And I'm Athena Ankra. Thank you for joining us.
Emotional security camera footage was released of high school track and football coach Keenan Lowe disarming a suicidal student. Back in May at Parkrose High School in Portland, Oregon, student Angel Granados Diaz walked into a classroom prepared to take his own life. Lowe, who was also the school's security guard, grabbed the gun with one hand and held the student back with the other. Another faculty member then grabbed the gun from Lowe. At the time, reports said that Lowe had tackled the student, but the footage showed that he did something much more impactful. He pulled the student into an embrace. Diaz and Lowe then proceeded to share a very emotional moment together. Lowe feels he was put in that situation for a reason, which was to protect the kids, including Diaz. He said, quote, "In that time, I felt compassion for him. A lot of times, especially when you're young, you don't realize what you're doing until it's over," end quote. Diaz has since pleaded guilty for the unlawful possession of a firearm and has been sentenced to 3 years of probation. He will receive mental health and substance abuse treatment. Adam Thane, Diaz's attorney, said, quote, Angel would like to thank Mr. Lowe, the first responders, the Parkrose High School community, and all those who have supported him throughout this process. He's looking to move forward in the best way possible, end quote. So Athena, this is obviously a very, very impactful story, and it's crazy to think that before this, footage was released, they thought that he had tackled him and been super rough with him, and in reality, he did what we do when we see a human being in pain, which is give them a hug, tell them it's going to be okay. So it kind of showed that he didn't treat him like a monster in that moment. He treated him like a human being, which I think is really important.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Carolina, for sharing that story. Now we're going to send it over to specialist Mia Marquez for our next story.
In a testimony to House impeachment investigators, top Ukraine envoy Bill Taylor implicated President Trump in a quid pro quo pressure campaign on Ukraine. He told investigators that the president withheld nearly $400 million in aid and refused a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky until he publicly agreed to investigate Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden and his family. Although Trump's allies have downplayed Taylor's testimony, Democratic lawmakers have found it deeply concerning, with freshman Michigan Representative Andy Levin describing it as, quote, his most disturbing day in Congress so far. More begins to unravel in the impeachment inquiry as more prepare to take the stand. In the studio, Mia Marquez, Cut for News.
The college admissions scandal is back in the headlines as parents who plead not guilty are now facing an additional bribery charge. Federal prosecutors announced this on Tuesday. 11 parents, including actress Lori Loughlin, have been charged in a superseding indictment with conspiracy to commit federal program bribery. Loughlin and the other parents have already faced charges of conspiracy fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The new charges accuse the parents of bribing USC employees to get their children into the school. They now face a maximum of 45 years in prison.
A Herculean effort saved one of Denmark's historic lighthouses on Tuesday. The 120-year-old Ruberg Knud Lighthouse was in danger of falling into the sea after years of erosion. Danish engineers had the ingenious idea of putting the 720-ton structure on special roller skates Tuesday morning. It was rolled away from the edge of the cliff very slowly and was moved to a safe distance in just a few hours. The relocation project for the more than 75 feet tall lighthouse went more smoothly than expected. The lighthouse overlooks a popular tourist destination in Jutland, but Tuesday it became a tourist destination unto itself, as an estimated 25,000 people turned out to see history on the move.
Amid a financial crisis, airplane manufacturer Boeing has announced the resignation of their commercial airplane unit executive Kevin McAllister following two recent crashes of Boeing's 737 MAX model. The company later replaced McAllister with Stan Deal just before releasing quarterly financial reports that are predicted to report billions of dollars lost by the company. This all comes just after new evidence that the Boeing pilots were aware of, quote, egregious errors with the 737 MAX model's flight control system for over 3 years before the most recent crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia. The crashes killed 346 people. The plot thickens here, though, because in the last few weeks it was revealed that the company had failed to give key documents to the Federal Aviation Administration and Congress. Boeing's biggest customer, Southwest Airlines, maintains that they had no knowledge of the documents, describing them as, quote, more evidence that Boeing misled pilots, government regulators, and other aviation experts about the safety of the 737 MAX. As this story develops and investigations continue, the FAA and several international regulators have grounded that plane model. So this story's a bit of a doozy. There's quite a few layers here, and Stan Deal, hopefully they're making moves in the right direction, this company, because after losing so many valuable customers and people, they've moved and reinstated this new guy. His name is Stan Deal. He's been with the company since 1986, so hopefully things are looking up for the company and for the future of aviation safety.
Yeah, and I think it's important to take dramatic moves like this, especially, like you said, when you lose hundreds of people. So this is very important, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Next, Cut for News specialist Jamie Landers has a report on more controversy in the Trump White House.
Thanks, Carolina. Many Republicans are done trying to defend President Trump after he said he was the victim of a lynching on Tuesday. The comparison was stated on Twitter when Trump said, quote, "All Republicans must remember what they are witnessing here, a lynching," in regards to his impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives. While he received plenty of backlash from Democrats, some unexpected officials flipped the script. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell expressed his disappointment, saying, quote, "Given the history in our country, I would not compare it to a lynching. That was an unfortunate choice of words." However, Lindsey Graham rushed to the president's defense, saying the inquiry is a lynching in every sense and simply un-American. As for the rest of his allies, most say it comes down to this: they're tired of trying to defend the indefensible. In the studio, Jamie Landers, Cut for News.
Now we're going to throw it over to Cut for News specialist Ryan Tismaneski for an update on a recent development in Antarctica.
This year, the ozone hole over Antarctica was observed to be at its smallest size since its discovery in 1982. On average, the ozone hole can grow to a size of 8 million square miles. However, this year was different. Shown in a joint study by NASA and NOAA, the hole reached a peak size of 6.3 million square miles on September 8th and proceeded to shrink to 3.9 million throughout the following months. The cause of this event was the southern polar vortex warming the stratosphere, slowing the depletion of atmospheric ozone. Paul Newman, the chief scientist for Earth Sciences at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, said, quote, "It's great news for the ozone in the southern hemisphere, but it's important to recognize that what we're seeing this year is due to warmer stratospheric temperatures. It's not that the atmospheric ozone is suddenly on a fast track to recovery." From the studio, Ryan Tismaneski, Cut for News.
We're finally saying goodbye to the scorching heat we're used to in the valley.
Yay! Cut for News weather specialist Evan List tells us what we can expect in our 7-day forecast. Evan?
Thanks so much, guys. Welcome to your Cut for News weather forecast this week. I'm Evan List. Let's dive right into it. So for the past couple of days in the week, we've been seeing above average temperatures just holding on to those 90s with abundant sunshine, no rain in the forecast. However, that's set to change as a disturbance moves through the southwest, pushing our temperatures down to average where they should be for this time of the year, about 80 degrees or so, and picking up our winds also from Thursday into Friday. This is also going to set up a larger atmospheric anomaly over our region with a low pressure center, the epicenter, if you will, of the low pressure system centered over New Mexico, where it'll be churning snow up and bringing in cold weather behind it tomorrow, right along that I-25 corridor. So anybody traveling on it that might have some dicey, icy conditions, Santa Fe looks like you're going to get in on the fun. However, the real severe weather, the critical weather we should be pointing out here is on the other side of us, the other state, California. There's this big high pressure system over the Great Basin. That's going to create perfect offshore wind conditions. They're called the Santa Ana winds, pushes up their temperatures, dries out the air. The Santa Anas are synonymous with sometimes explosive wildfires. They've had a dry summer as well, so there's plenty of fuel. Any ignition can spread really quickly. So folks down in Southern California, from LA down to San Diego, sleep with that phone on your night table next to you in case anybody's trying to get a hold of you, family, friends, emergency personnel. By the time our Cronkite friends get there on Saturday, the Santa Ana winds should have died down, but you might see some air quality index effects. Back here in Phoenix, we don't have snow and we don't have Santa Ana winds or wildfires, thank goodness, especially not here in the Valley of the Sun. But we're seeing just gorgeous conditions in the Valley of the Sun, mid-80s right now. But early next week, we should see a change up. Potentially the coolest temperatures of the season with another big depression moving through. Models are diverging right now, but you might get a real taste of fall for the first time. But for now, until we get there and can really hone the forecast, I recommend just sticking to your pumpkin spice latte. Back to you guys.
Students at the University of Utah walked out of class Monday, 1 year after student Lauren McCluskey was murdered on campus.
Rosie Wen has more on the story.
Nearly 200 students gathered in unity in front of the Park building at the University of Utah, all for one cause.
Just to know that on our campus we aren't safe from violence, we aren't safe from murder, it's terrifying and heartbreaking.
However, school officials say they have implemented a multitude of new policies and procedures to improve campus safety in the past year.
Starting with the 30 recommendations that we received last winter in response to the independent review
review, and those 30 recommendations have been completed or in the process or they're ongoing.
But students who were at today's walkout and protest say it's not enough. They say they want university officials to take accountability for the shortcomings that led to Lauren McCluskey's murder. They also want students to be added to the decision-making table instead of just being the ones voicing the concerns.
We're not heard, we're not listened to, we're not taken seriously, and I think that's the big issue here is we are reporting, and it's just brushed off as something small.
University of Utah officials say they did meet with a group of students earlier this morning. They say they'll carefully review the list of suggestions that the students have and then plan a follow-up meeting to fully respond to their petition.
We certainly applaud students for caring about such an important issue and respect their right to exercise protest on our campus. We know that it has been a difficult year for our students, and we want to hear from them.
As the one-year anniversary of McCluskey's murder approaches, student protesters say they're hopeful for change, but they say they won't stop until every student feels safe on campus.
I do think that we could change. And all of the students want it, and all of the faculty want it. So we really do just need the administration to get on board.
Reporting at the University of Utah, Rosie Nguyen, ABC4 News.
Thank you, Rosie, for sharing that story with us. This is actually going to be the topic of our political discussion today. So I think Rosie did a really great job of talking about that story and discussing it. But let's go a little bit further. So I would say that being college students ourselves, the opportunity for education in a safe way is very important to us and to our neighbors up north in Utah. So it's a really important story. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so empowering to see, kids our age standing up for this very serious issue and just kind of also taking the time to mourn the loss of their friend. And I think this whole situation is just incredibly important. Well, that's it for Cut for News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For a behind-the-scenes look at our content, follow us on all social media at @thecut_network.
Have a good night.